Welcome back to Down the Track. It's only been a week, but it feels like a month. We are heading into the third test between India and England. It's been a brilliant series so far. I have with me my co-host, Abraziz. How are you doing, bro?
Good. I'm looking forward to it. Like you said, it just feels like a long time back when they went out there and won the game at Lords.
I mean, what a test match that was. I think I've seen the highlights 3, 4, 5 times. But plenty to talk about, from England side of things. Again, Mark Wood, firstly, he's been injured. He picked up that shoulder injury we saw in the second test match. Man, I just feel bad for them. To be very honest with you, I can't really blame Joe Root. I know there's a lot of talk about his captaincy and field placements in that last game, but he just doesn't have players available to him.
Absolutely. I think. I still think that the tactics that he applied for Bumrah and Shami that were a bit off. Apart from that, I don't think that. Yes, he is a little bit of a defensive captain. We've seen more aggressive captains, and we've seen what it does to change Test cricket. I think being an aggressive captain in Test cricket is very, very important, and we've seen that he tends to be a defensive at time. But I completely agree with you. I think the board doesn't back him because the board doesn't like Test match cricket as much as they like white ball cricket. All the resources are pooled towards white ball cricket, and when he does get a chance to bring in players, the likes of so many injuries with Broad now, Wood, all these guys. Wood was a good bowled very well last game. Unfortunately, he's not going to be available. Broad's not been available. The changes in the batting lineup has been all over the place. So it's going to be interesting how they come out of this because they have the backs against their wall, and India is the one that, with all the confidence going into this Test match, they're looking like they want to go out there and really make a statement by getting like a 3-1 win they lost the first one draw, and everyone's talking about how that could have also been India's game at this point in time because they lost the day because of rain. So there's a lot against England at this point in time. I want to see a response from them. I think they're a better side than they're showing right now on paper, on the field, and on paper I think they're a better side, and I just can't wait to see if they can really put up a fight in the third test.
I honestly feel they're punching above their weight in a sense, because there's so many players missing. Of course, there's a lot of talk about the opening batting not doing justice and everything like that. Too much dependence on Joe Root. But then, when you don't have someone like Ben Stokes there, it makes a massive difference. But for me, it's the bowling side of things. If you just look at it from an Indian perspective, though, as an Indian fan, if you just look at it from there, or if you're in the Indian management, are you satisfied with the Lord's win, or do you think we need to beat this team a bit more convincingly? Because let's get it right. If it wasn't for Shami or Bumrah, India were in quite a bit of trouble in that test match.
Yes, of course there are things that India can fine tune as well, but
Because
there's
this
no
is not
doubt
a
about
full
it.
strength England team, right? We have to reiterate that fact.
Absolutely, and I think
Then
that there
again,
were.
I'll just make the counter that Australia couldn't beat a third string Indian team as well. So you have to beat what is in front of you. But would you like a more convincing approach or a more convincing win kind of in the third test?
I agree. I think that there is some fine tuning. The Indian batting has been a little susceptible, especially at middle order with Virat not scoring runs. Pujara and Rahane also, they got a few in the second innings, but still not good enough. That in 3, 4, and 5 they are the mainstay of of the Indian middle order. We expect big scores from them. A century from either one of them is kind of a given back in the day, from a few years back as well, as at least. And we've grown used to being a good batting side. It's the bowling that has always let us down in so many years. So this kind of a subtle change is unfortunate because when the bowling is really good, it would have been beautiful if the batting could kind of go hand in hand. But now we're struggling with the batting, so that's kind of been the story for Indian cricket. But there is definitely some batting, some especially these three. The likes of Virat, Rahane, and Pujara. They are the senior batsmen in the team. They need to step it up, get those big hundreds, so that you can. The reliance is not on the bowlers, and the additional pressure is not on the bowlers. That way, that's the fine tuning that India has to look at. That's the place that they need to work on, and if they can do that, I think they have a capability of really going and winning the next two as well, next three as well.
The funny thing about Virat Kohli is though, we saw him struggle in England and we saw him conquer England. I just feel it's a more of a headspace kind of issue. It's just he's not in form. When you're not in form, it's very difficult to get that rhythm. Once you get it, then you start scoring runs. The drop catches fall you away as well. It becomes completely different because if you look at his dismissals, he's been fishing outside of that off stump unnecessarily, and he knows that. It's not like he doesn't know that. He knows exactly how he's getting out. That one ball from Sam Curran came in, and then his LBW not given out, and then he fell for the bait the next over the outside off stump. So it's something, these mistakes, I'm sure he's been like thinking about it all the time, but it's something you can't control. When you're in a bad form, you're in bad form.
Absolutely, he's a completely headspace kind of guy. You know, if he's clear in his head, I think he'll this win will do him a world of good. I think that this will really charge him up to kind of go out there and perform. I think I'm still not worried as for him as a batsman. I think he has a lot of talent. There is that interview with Dinesh Karthik that he did. You know, when he had a torrid time in England, he just went out and just cleared his mind, and he came back in Australia and scored those bulk load of runs. So I think it's just a matter of just kind of, you know, getting his head together, getting his mind space together, and just going out there and trying to play that long innings. He has a capability, you know, just the small mistakes that he's doing, this avoidable mistakes that he's doing. If he just takes care of that, I think he has enough talent and enough. Will to want to change that. So I'm not too worried about that. It's just been a while. We are not used to seeing a Virat Kohli's slump in form for this long. But you know, it's just a matter of time before that turns around. A few from the middle of the bat, and I think he'll be back.
Yeah, and if you just look at team composition for England, you mentioned before the last game that you want to see Pope. You still stick with that? And for Mark Wood, would you like to see someone like a Saqib Mahmood who has that pace as well?
For me, I think the addition of Malan at 3, I think that's a big inclusion for England. I think
Mm.
that will really solidify. I mean, I know Malan's been a little bit off form a little bit, but we'll see how that goes. I think he's a good proper Test match batsman, so I think it'll be good for him. It is home conditions for him. He'll understand the England pitches better. So I would love to see him come in at 3, and they go with that youngster Hasib to open, because that's his natural position, along with Burns play root at 4, and then I guess Johnny Bairstow has done enough to stake a claim at 5, and then you continue with Butler Ali and so on and so forth. I would like to see, yes, Saqib Mahmood seems like a good player with a lot of pace. I do like Craig Overton also a lot. I think he's been bowling very well, so I would like to continue. I mean, either of those two is totally fine. I think it doesn't matter really too much for me. But I think I would like to see. I'm not too worried about their bowling. Like I said, I think that their bowling is doing okay. The only time they kind of messed up was when they
Shami
lost
and
their
Bumrah
heads
batting.
when
Yeah.
Shami and Bumrah batting, and that was more personal when Jimmy Anderson kind of just started doing all sorts of things. And Jimmy Anderson's known to pick a fight every now and again, so it's not new for them. But I think that if they can figure that out, if they would have curtailed those 50-60 runs from them, I think that would have been a lot more. Of a challenge for the Indian bowlers, but I think hats off to India at that point in time. But I think that's kind of how they go. And for India, uh, I really, really want to see Ashwin back. I just don't know how it's going to happen, because all four of the fast bowlers bowled very well. Jadu's giving you enough with the bat that you want to stake a claim of for him to be at number 7. If there is not enough spin on the pitch, I don't see how Ashwin will stake a claim for the game. But if there is
I
some
think
line of
he went a bit back in the queue as well. I think Shardul Thakur is fit. I saw him bowling in the nets at Headingley. So I think there's another headache. Do you play Thakur instead of Ishan Sharma? Do you need that extra bat, or do you rely on Shami again with the bat, Shami and Bumrah?
I mean, both of them are it's the second time Bumrah has scored more than
Yeah,
30 runs. So it's like, I guess if it's a fact, if it's a matter of Shami and Ishant, Thakur and Ishant, I'd go Ishant. But if it's a matter of the pitch being dry and slowing up, I would really try to see how we can bring in
Ashwin.
Ashwin for unfortunately, the only person who can give way at this point is Ishant. I think Bumrah and Shami have done well, and Siraj is in the form of his
The
life.
only the only way it's said, if you tell him you need to rest, we need you in the and then last 2 tests. That's the only way he'll sit. Otherwise, because he's been bowling superbly as well, right? So, I guess maybe you have to think of it that way. There's still a few test matches to go. There's going to be less time between the last few test matches. So, if you just want to give somebody a breather, you can play a Thakur or Ashwin. I think they should go that way, just to have everyone fit going into the last 2 test matches. I think that's very important as well. Rotation.
Absolutely.
Um, who's gonna swear first, Anderson or Kohli?
That's an easy one, Virat Kohli.
Virat Kohli. But yeah, I think that wraps it up in terms of the team composition, everything. How do you see this game panning out? The last time I think not the last time India played in these, but I remember in 2002, Sachin, Ganguly, was it Dravid also? They all got runs. I think they performed really well there. It's been a decent kind of ground for India, but we don't know what to expect with the summer now progressing. There might be some dryness, so it might well turn fourth and fifth day.
This is the reason why I think that in this specific test match, I think the inclusion of Ashwin will be very, very important, because of the way the pitches are in the past. I think that there will be turn, and I just think that he brings a lot more in terms of an extra dimension, because your fast bowlers, all 3 4 of them have been doing well, but just to change it up, just when you're like, when especially in the second innings, when you saw when Root and Bairstow were going along quite nicely in the middle there. I think that if Ashwin was there, he could have just turned things around just a tad bit, and just given them a little bit extra to think about, because fast bowling all through fronts, and Jaddu hasn't been bowling that much. Maybe try Jaddu a little bit more. That's a possibility as well. But I feel like that's a good chance to really, because the guile and the mind with which Ashwin uses is just second to none, and he is one of the top bowlers in Test cricket right now. So it would be a little unfair on him if there is any kind of dryness to not include him.
Yep, and your players to watch out for from both teams?
I want to go on and see how KL Rahul is continuing. He's really making a mark for
Superb,
himself.
man.
He's
Superb.
looking
The way
he's
he's come
looking
back.
incredible. He's looking incredible, and I think he's made a mark for that opening spot again. He's kind of made it his own because of the two big scores that he's already gotten. I want to see if he can continue doing that, because especially because the middle order is susceptible at this point in time. So just to get those extra runs in the beginning and just make it comfortable for India to get these guys on give them a better platform, so to say, to come in. And in terms of England, I'd like to see how Jimmy Anderson performs, especially after a lot has been said about him. It kind of come back in there, and there's we all know that he's a great bowler, but he lost his cool, and that's something you don't expect from someone as experienced as he is, with over 620 wickets now. I think just want to come back and see how he can come back and let the ball do the talking. He doesn't have to use his mouth too much, and you always say that. So I'd like to see for him if he can come in and nip it back a little bit, get a few wickets. That'd be nice to see.
Yeah, 100%. Those are really good points. And yeah, I think it wraps it up. Rahane and Pujara, I think they've settled that argument. I wouldn't drop them, but I think if India lost that game, there would be a call for Surya Kumar Yadav. But thankfully, you got to back your players, right? You have to back them at least for till the end of the series, and then see how it goes from there.
Absolutely, I think those few runs in the second innings is crucial. I would love to see Surya Kumar, though. I'm a big fan of Surya Kumar. I think.
But then one of your boys will be dropped. You've been a biggest advocate of these two guys.
That's true.
That's by the way, there is a possibility. I don't think it'll happen in this test match, but there is a possibility of one or two like back-to-back failures. Then I think Surya Kumar will pave into the team in place of Pujara or Rahane. Even though right now I don't think that's the suitable thing, because you're in England. These guys are experienced. I know it's the very old saying, but I think you have to back your big players and then see how it goes. Because honestly, though, that contribution, that partnership in the second innings, if you look at it in hindsight, it was crucial.
Absolutely, I agree 100%. I just love Surya Kumar as a player. He's just such a terrific player to watch. So I would love to see him come in at some point. But of course, it probably does not this series, and he probably will have to wait his turn. He's also quite old now. I mean, he's not one of those typical 22, 23-year-olds kind of. Yeah. He's almost hitting 30, so he doesn't have too much.
He is 30, yeah.
Career. So he has about 5-6 good years left. So he'd like to make the most of it. But I think at this point in time, it's just a little too much for him to jump in at this point in time, especially after those runs from Pujara and Rahane.
Yep. And lastly, prediction for this match.
If there's no rain, I think India will win this one as well.
Yeah, I think it looks clear, the forecast. There's a bit of cloud in the first 3-4 days, but the sun will come out, I think, towards the end of the test match. Right now, but you never know with England. It can rain in Lords. It was sunny for all 5 days, but it rained in the first thing. So the forecast is not always 100% accurate, but hopefully we get a full 5 days, and it's going to be interesting. I think it's fun. These English conditions are not easy for the Indian team, so they will be challenged no matter what the opposition feels. So whichever players play, it doesn't matter. It's going to be difficult for India, so it'll be fun either way, I think.
I think if the career doesn't launch in sports journalism for you, Musti, I think weatherman in England is a good idea as a batter. You can always be wrong; it doesn't matter.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, I think that wraps it up. Thank you so much. I will catch you after day one's play and throughout the test match.
Absolutely, looking forward to it.
Take care, man.